Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome in. How are you doing today? For wherever you're watching from, as you're coming in, please let us know. My camera is a lot closer than it normally is. Ain't that something? Listen, I hope y'all are having a wonderful day today. I had to wait for my internet people to get done with what they were doing. But it looks like I still made good time. Pragmatic human, is nice to see you in the building today. We're going to have a nice little conversation today. Of course, I'd like to know what's going on in your world, what's going on in your side of the world, what's going on in your side of the country, what's going on in your life, what's on your mind. As you know, every Wednesday we try to come together and have a few of these deconstructing conversations, thinking of things that we have deconstructed now that we've deconverted. Because, like, to me, religious deconstruction is often just the beginning. There's so much more to deconstruct, and it's different for everybody, right? We all have our own little journeys to kind of go through. And one of my biggest goals is I'm not here to guide your journey. I'm not here to lead your journey, but I am here to be some type of point of reference. So while you're on the way, if you see anything that makes sense, you can say, hey, I might be able to use that. And so we're going to always try to provide some information that's helpful in the best way that we can. I do always try to run, a few announcements in the beginning just because it's my channel, and I assume that some of the people who are supporting want to know about what's going on. So one of the things that I've been letting people know is that, of course, I am in the Entrepreneur of Impact competition. And as of now, I'm a quarter finalist. And before you get too excited, there's like 64 groups still left, and I'm number one in my group. So I'm one in my group, but I got 63 other ones to go against before this competition ends, which I think it ends actually the day before my birthday, which is wild. All right, so I think that's the main announcements. We started a new series this past Sunday with Bridge City called Not Safe for Work, or Not Suitable for Work, or maybe even Not Suitable for Weak Minds. But it's one of the first conversations that we've had that really is more interactive than instructional. And so we had polls going, we had surveys going, and I think we really had an incredible time. The name of that conversation was Safe Sex. And so next week, or this weekend, we're going to be going into part 2 of NSFW, which will be, what is it called? Oh, You're My Little Secret. Have any of you heard that song before? You're my little secret, and that's how we should keep it. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Anyway, so it's going to be called You're My Little Secret, and we're going to be dealing with infidelity and pluralism, dealing with the world where sometimes some people do get their cake and eat it too. I don't understand why else you would get the cake if not to eat the cake, but you get what I'm saying. But we'll be talking about infidelity and blurred lines in that conversation. And again, for the entire month of May, we'll be in that series where it's not going to be instructional. It's going to be interactive. I don't want to be the sex expert, so we're going to be having we're going to be having this conversation together. And if you want to know what that looks like, just go back and check out this past Sundays. You'll see exactly what that kind of framework looked like. All right, so I guess we're ready to jump into today's conversation. It looks like we have enough people watching from across the platforms to have a quorum. And of course, as always, as you're coming in, let us know where you're watching from. You could be watching with your neighbor. And if you haven't already, share this stream, because that's how more people get to watch it. All right, so today I have a few notes, and we'll see how long we stay at this. But today I have a few notes on this idea of, like, how are you living after believing? But like, believing inhibited now, and I can only share my story. I can't tell your story, but believing inhibited my sense of living so much. Like, oh my goodness. And so I've been trying to be really intentional about how I live after I've let go of these beliefs. And one of the biggest places that has been the most meaningful for me is really growing from the place of reflexive living to a place of responsible living, like moving from transitioning from just operating out of my reflexes to living in a place, okay, no, I'm operating out of my understanding of my responsibility. Even that, I think that's a whole bar by itself. Instead of me just operating out of my reflexes, which is a lot of what belief depended on. Belief depended on me being stuck and just operating off of my reflexes, my instincts, my intuitions, my five senses, my sense of security, sense of safety, just my reflexes, not necessarily what's my responsibility in this moment, what's my responsibility with this information. And so that's been a major shift for me. So after I deconstructed my religious beliefs, I realized that I still had a lot more that I needed to deconstruct from. And it wasn't like I was on a mission just to find all the lies in life. Which, I mean, that's tempting, right? You get to the end of your belief journey and you say, I don't believe this anymore. It's really tempting if you take the posture, they lied to me. It's really easy if you take the posture, they lied to me, to want to go out and say, okay, well, what else did they lie to me about? Did y'all lie to me about this? Did y'all lie to me about this? That wasn't my posture. I didn't come out on the other side of like, oh man, all of these people lied to me. Grandma lied to me, daddy lied to me, mama lied to me, auntie so and so lied to me. That's not that's not the posture I adopted. I'm not saying that posture is invalid. It's just not the posture I adopted. The posture I adopted was I believed foolishness. I believed bullshit. I believed things that were not true. I believed information without verifying it. For me, that was a healthier posture. That was a healthier posture. It wasn't lost on me that I lived in a world where people lied. Okay, so the moment we know that we live in a world that people do share information that's not always accurate, not always well thought out, nor is it even well put together, then the onus kind of falls on me to make sure that I'm verifying information that I receive before I believe. So let me verify this. So instead of me getting into the posture, ooh, these people lied to me, I took the posture, I believe things that are not true. You know, I believe things without verifying them. And so that as soon as I realized that, I'm like, no, so there's likely, watch this is likely not the only place in my life I've done that. And that's often very interesting to me, is people who don't take that posture of, no, I wasn't lied to, I believe things that weren't true. People who don't take that posture have a hard time in recognizing that in other areas of their lives. So like when I first kind of joined the space and start sharing information, one thing that I noticed that was a red flag for me, and y'all know I call out stuff if I see it, because I think we should want to be the best versions of ourselves that we could possibly be. So I started realizing that we were learning like cognitive biases and logical fallacies, not to identify them in ourselves, but solely to identify them in religious argumentation. And I'm like, man, that is such a waste of a tool. When you buy a tool, when you acquire a tool because of what it can do against others and not what it can do for yourself, like that's just it's such a waste of a tool. Because what I realized is, like, we become really good expertise level of identifying, oh no, that's a straw man, of identifying, okay, no, that's bias, of identifying that's a fallacy in religious argumentation. But when it comes to our own, the way we approach things, the way we think about things outside of religion, we couldn't recognize those same cognitive flaws. And I'm like, logical fallacies and biases, they're not restricted to religious argumentation. They exist, in the world that we share. And so I started encouraging people, like, hey, when you're learning these logical fallacies, when you're learning these cognitive biases, Don't just learn them so that you can call them out in others. Learn them so that you could recognize them in yourself. Because then, if you can recognize your own cognitive biases, your own logical fallacies, then that keeps you from making the same mistake as you made, or as we all made, when we accepted religion to be true. It's basically if I believe something that is true, the problem is with me and my ability to process information. And if I want to no longer believe things that are not true, if I want to be in a place where I'm no longer easily lost into what other people say, regardless of what it is, I've got to adopt some type of methodology, some type of mechanism, some type of process that when I receive information, mm, I treat it as needing to be processed, right? I treat it as needing to process. So after I deconstructed my religious beliefs and deconverted, I realized that I still had a lot to deconstruct from. And again, it wasn't like I was like, "Ooh, let me deconstruct patriarchy. Ooh, let me deconstruct capitalism." Ooh, no, because for me, the moment I do that, I'm kind of running from one extreme to the other extreme. Instead, it became, let me embrace life intentionally, taking nothing for granted. All right. And so at that moment, it became that I really wanted a more responsible and realistic way for navigating life. I'm turning my phone off because it's been jumping. Watch this. I wanted a more realistic and responsible way to navigate life. It wasn't about, catch this, it wasn't about, I don't want to be religious anymore. That's not even a thought for me. To me, that's like childish language. That's not a goal. That's not a goal. That's too easy to do. So the goal wasn't to be not religious. The goal was to be more realistic and more responsible. Is that good, y'all? The goal was to be more realistic and more responsible in the way that I navigated life. So, and we're talking about shifting from believing to actually living, from reflex to actual responsibility. So I implemented two rules for myself. One of them you have heard me say a lot on this channel. Good morning, Jude. You've heard me talk about a lot on this channel. I will not give myself permission to know what I have not done the work to know. Now, this is that I want y'all to just sit in that one for a moment. It's one of my favorite things to say. It's one of my favorite things to say, and it's one of the things that have kept me safe. There's this old gospel song. Is it, "That's why I'm safe. That's why I'm safe." No, this is what keeps me safe. What keeps me safe from bullshit. What keeps me safe from things that are not true. What keeps me safe in most cases from scams. I've not been scammed yet. Is I will not give myself permission to know what I have not done the work to know. I just don't do it. I will not live off of someone else's borrowed certainty. I can't do it. No, I get you're convinced, but I can't be convinced unless I have comprehended. Yeesh. No, no, no. I can't be. No, I get that you convinced. I honor that you're convinced. I respect that you're convinced, but I can't borrow your confidence. I can't borrow your certainty. So if I have not done the work to know, then I'm not going to give myself permission to know. And what I call that is rejecting that sense of hypothetical urgency. Well, you got to make a decision right now. I don't think I do. I don't think I do. I'm gonna reject that hypothetical sense of urgency and say, no, look, I get you may think that. I had somebody last year or the year before last really wanted me to jump on this bandwagon of calling somebody else a racist. And I'm like, hey, you may have come across enough material that convince you, but I cannot borrow your certainty. I will not give myself permission to know what I have not done the work to know. Is that, man, like that, to me, that should be like the chiefest principle of skepticism. And that's not just about religion. That's how I approach everything. Well, Durante, they say such and such is this. I don't know any of that because I have not done the work to know any of that. Now remember, now y'all know I'm telling the truth because, like, I've been talking about this. I tell this little funny story, and I tell this funny story because it's my truth. It's not a flattering truth. I feel really bad that this is a part of my story because it's like, psh, shame on you. But like my wife and I, we watch what's that stuff? Reality television, right? And there used to be a show called Ti and Tiny's Family Hustle. And I don't know if you ever heard me rap before, but I'm kind of a Ti fan. I'm kind of a Ti fan. So I'm a Ti fan. I like the way he thinks. I like the way he raps. I like the way he moves, all that good stuff. So I'm like, I even like the little robot dancing that he be doing, like, jump a bun and all that. So I really like Ti. Cannot stand his wife. Now, and I'm going somewhere with this, right? Cannot stand his wife. So every time we're watching a show, I'm telling my wife, like, man, I can't stand Tiny. I don't understand why he with her. Why is he with somebody like her? And then one day it hit me, dude, why is this any of your business? Why are you pretending that just because you see somebody on television that you know them? And furthermore, why are you taking it to that next step where you feel like you have a right to determine how they should show up in life, how they should show up in their relationship? That person does not owe you that. Other people are not for your consumption. They are ribbed for their pleasure, not for your pleasure. You don't know what the hell she does for TI, okay? And so I realized even then, because it's part of the culture, it's part of the consumptive culture that we've given ourselves over into, that we just have an opinion on everything that's in front of us. But I made the decision. I will not give myself permission to know what I've not done the work to know. And there's levels to that, because what it helps keeps me grounded in is, if I haven't done the work to know it, there's probably a reason. Mm. I hadn't done the work to see what type of wife Tiny actually is. Why hadn't I done that work? Because I really didn't care. That's the reality. Hmm. So it doesn't just protect my sense of skepticism, it also protects my sense of care. It keeps me from getting caught up in stuff that I don't even really care about. I hope that's helping somebody. So these are two rules. Number one, I will not give myself permission to know what I have not done the work to know. And this is rejecting that sense of hypothetical urgency. And then number two, oh man. Number two, I would stop living like a passive passenger in someone else's story. And that was a heavy one, you know? No, I had to stop living like a passive passenger. That's a part of where this consumptive behavior comes from. Man, there's a book. It's a little different, but there's a book called The Delectable Negro. There's a book called the see, sociologists, we're gonna be having books out there that we just throw at you I'd encourage everybody to read. But when you become a part of such a passive, consumptive culture, you become a passive passenger that's just enjoying the ride of everybody else. Which is why you end up, if you're not careful, like, depriving your value and your joy from being able to consume others. Like, do you have a people consumption problem? Oh no, let's talk. Let's go. What is a people consumption problem? Like, when you go to somebody and you say something like, you'd be really nice if you just had different glasses. Oh, you'd be really, really, really pretty if you just did not have that beard. That sounds funny, doesn't it? Like, no, no, no. Oh my goodness, I love you so much. I just wish you wouldn't do this. This is a people consumption problem. This is forgetting that other people, and y'all know I love this saying, this is forgetting that other people are ribbed for their pleasure, not your pleasure. Other people, ooh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Other people shouldn't have to conform to your pleasure. Mhm. That's how you know that you've become a passive passenger in someone else's story. Everybody else is the hero. Everybody else is responsible for your mood. Everybody, oh, I'm talking better than y'all responded. Everybody else is responsible for your mood. Everybody else is responsible for your attitude. Everybody else is responsible for what you do and what you don't do. Everybody else is responsible for what the ways you step up or you don't step up. You are a passive passenger waiting on a hero. I need a hero. That's you. When you become a passive passenger in your life, you need other people to be different in order for you to be happy. You treat people like something that you order off of a menu, and that's not how people work. Oh, man. Come on now. No, you have to stop. This decision I made. Okay. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I decided to do. I was going to stop living like a passive passenger in someone else's story. I'm not in T.I. and Tiny's story. Why do you have more advice for other people that you don't know than you do for yourself? That's a side effect of living like a passive passenger in somebody else's story. You have more insight into people that you don't know, and you can't use any of that insight to move your life forward. Goshly. Oh my goodness. Like, no, no, no. When mm-mm. When you start living like an active, mhm, like an active contributory to your own life, we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. I know it's not a word, it is right now, but when you're living like an active contributor to your own life, it becomes less important to you what other people are doing because you're getting your stuff together. So, like, your insight becomes more powerful for you than anybody else. Oh my goodness. You want me to give you like one of the red flags of bad advice? One of the red flags of bad advice is that the person who's giving it isn't operating in it. And you gotta let that advice work for you first. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is good. This is good. Ooh. Yes. Oh, I love that. Y'all on it. Okay. So those are the two things that I made because I realized no, I have a lot to deconstruct. I have a lot to deconstruct, and I don't want to go from tribe to tribe to tribe to tribe, trying to figure out how much I need to deconstruct. Right. So I didn't want to go from. So I went from Christianity ultimately to Black nationalism. Which I still got some Black nationalist tendencies. Ultimately to Black nationalism, but then I saw a lot of the same deconstructing traps. And again, because for me, because my deconstruction was, hey, I believed bullshit, not necessarily people lied to me. Okay. I was willing to take a step all the way back and say, there are certain things that I do not know. There are certain things that I do not currently have a way of knowing, which means there are certain things that I shouldn't even try to pretend to know. Right. Okay. And so then when I start moving from group to group and I start realizing, whoa, people are operating in this borrowed certainty. This isn't just a Christian problem. This isn't just a religious problem. This is a human problem. Okay. And that is something that sometimes bothers me. I'm about to get in trouble, but you got to say what you got to say. That's something that bothers me sometimes about the atheist commentary space because I do think sometimes we present information as if, yes, if religion disappeared overnight, everything would be better. And I'm like, whoa, so we're acting like people only get exalted at religious events. No, you let that sink in. You let that sink in however you need to. No, no, hold on. We're acting like religion is the only place this problem is. No, the problem is anywhere we are. It's not a religion problem. We created religion. It's the we problem. We gotta do better. I hope this is helping. Oh yeah, yes, and that really what it was. Malcolm was a major part of my evolution, of my humanitarian evolution, if you will. You know, and so number one, I stopped giving myself permission to know what I've not done the work to actually know, and then number two, I stopped living like a passive passenger in someone else's story. And this wasn't just about religion for me. Yes. Come on. Without thought. Yeah. Yeah. Gotta do the work. You gotta do the work. And so I started developing like a framework for me. And I had to identify where was I when I deconstructed and what were some more areas that I needed to deconstruct. And of course, at that time, I'm a parent of four, I'm a husband. I'm a person trying to survive in the world of capitalism while having these black nationalist tendencies. I am also a person highly committed to social work, to social services, to creating social engines. This is why I still do community work to this day. But I also like had other problems. I'm like, oh snap. Again, because it wasn't just about religion. Here you go. Durante, if you believed a lot of things that weren't true about religion, I wonder how much you believed that's not true about nutrition, or how much you believe that's not true about the economy, or how much you believe that's not true about politics, or how much you believe that's not true about culture. Because if you don't catch these things the same way people were able to get you caught up in religion, they're going to be able to get you caught up in all types of other bullshit. So the standard that we're raising for your life, and there it is. It was a standard I was raising for my life, not just for my religion. Okay. And I do think that is sometimes the difference between me and some of the others I meet. My problem isn't religion, my problem is living. Okay. No. Oh my goodness. I think there's some people who would be happy if religion disappeared overnight and nothing else changed. That would be a token victory for them. But to me, that would mean absolutely nothing. If religion disappeared overnight and poverty still exists, we didn't do shit. If religion disappears overnight and misogyny and patriarchy and all these other types of hate and discriminatory biases exist, then we accomplished nothing. And that is something that I've wrestled with for a while. Why are many of the things that we think are victories just against the things we hate and not in support of the things we love? Who do you love? Are you for sure? Somebody's going to catch that reference. Okay. So I started looking at it in every area of my life, because the problem wasn't just that I had believed the wrong things. The problem was that I was not learning how to know. And if I wasn't learning how to know, then I am robbing myself of interacting with reality as is, and I'm robbing myself of the ability to responsibly navigate it. And I'm like, now, I don't know what you said to yourself when you deconstructed, but when I deconstructed, I said, now, Darante Lamar Martin, you are too smart for this bullshit. No, this is how I talk to myself. I said, hey, bro, you are way too intelligent for this to have been your life for the past 3 decades. No, bro, you are way too bright to have believed this. So how do we keep this from happening again? How did you? Okay, why you say Deborah Cox? Why did you do that? But no, you know what I'm saying? So, like, no, it had to be beyond just, I don't believe in a virgin birth and I don't believe in a resurrection, like, and I've shared this story before. I've shared this stat before. I think I've shared the story at least twice on my channel, but I was over 580 pounds and had been like, you can't find a lot of pictures of me when I was younger because there's only very few, very dysfunctional family. But the pictures you can find, I was always heavy. I'm smaller now than I was in middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been heavy, but I was over 586 pounds and I've been trying to lose weight for a very long time. And I'm not gonna say deconstruction saved my life, but it damn sure helped me think better about my life. Okay, I gotta run that back. I'm not gonna say deconstruction saved my life, but it damn sure helped me think better about my life. Because then I realized like something, and it's for me. Now, if you 586 pounds and you love it, I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about me. For me, I'm like, bruh, something is wrong. Something is wrong. I've been trying for years to lose weight, for decades even, to lose weight, could not lose weight. And so I remember sitting at my kitchen table in Alexandria, Alabama, right before getting ready to go to work one morning. And I'm like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I am going to figure out what it is, why I'm this big, why I've always been this big, what's kept me from losing weight. And interestingly enough, I didn't go on some life-changing diet plan. I allowed myself to start. Oh, here it is. I allowed myself to start applying critical thinking methodology to areas of my life that it had been restricted from. And that's a part of what deconstruction is. Deconstruction is opening the floodgates for the tools of critical thinking and critical inquiry to come in and investigate in an area where we had locked that gate off. You know, the weight loss came immediately after the deconstruction, which is why some people were convinced that I was possessed by a devil, that I had sold my soul or something, you know? But it was simply just saying, recognizing that a part of the deconstruction process was recognizing that my religion is one of those places where I had said, hey, critical thinking is not allowed here. Yeah. That's what I had done with my religion. My religion, critical thinking is not allowed here. Only faith will do. Yada, 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 type of thing. And so when I started deconstructing, it became okay, critical thinking is welcome. Critical thinking is now allowed in this space. And so in 2000, I deconverted in 2014. In 2015, when I'm sitting at my kitchen little counter desk thing, whatever it is, and I'm running this conversation to myself, I'm having the same realization that the same thing I had done with religion, I had done with my relationship with food. Critical thinking had not been allowed to interrogate that space. And when I allowed critical thinking to interrogate that space, it was like a switch because there was a few thoughts that I had. A few thoughts. Number one, I had to admit, and this is me, this might not be your story. This is just mine, okay? Okay. It's just my story. So in my story, I had to admit that I was greedy. Oh, I'm talking about greedy, greedy. Oh, like I'm talking about lick the plate clean greedy. I'm like, the plate got to go back to the sink the way that it came to me. Yeah. Habanero. No, 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 no. I was greedy. I had to admit that. I had to allow my critical thinking to interrogate that. I also had to, and I've shared this one before, also had to admit, and this is what happened when I allowed my critical thinking to actually investigate this area. I was like, Darante, you kind of eat without reason. Do you remember how when you was a Christian, you'd believe stuff without good reason to believe it? Do you not realize you do the same thing with your eating? You eat stuff without a good reason to eat it, and I'm like, "What you mean, D? What you mean it's not a good reason to eat it? It's there." And as I realized, "Oh, so you eat reflexively, okay? You see food, and at the seafood diet, you see food, you eat it." And, it's like and it wasn't even on joking terms. I was coming to terms like, "Oh, dang, yeah. Food can't even really be around me and be safe. If food is around me, it's not safe. Don't leave your food around me, true player for real." Like, no, it's not safe. It's not safe. It was no, if it's present. And I realized like, okay, I eat because I can see it, I can hear it, I can smell it, I can taste it, you know? It was like I and I ain't this I'm not this ain't your story, it's mine. It's like I eat for very carnal reasons. Food is present, let's eat. I'm upset, let's eat. I'm excited, let's eat. And then I had asked myself, okay, so Durante, what's the purpose of eating? Well, the purpose of eating is to keep this body energized. Okay. Well, what happens if you overcharge a battery? Are you doing the battery any favors by overcharging it? No, not for real. So, what good reason would you have to stuff yourself? I'm not saying it don't taste good, but like, at this point, you're eating to the point where it doesn't even feel good. See, this is what happens when you allow reason to interrogate areas that you had not allowed reason to interrogate before. And that was just me. And what I had to do, and what I had to do was learn how to let reason interrogate more and more and more areas, more and more and more areas. No, let me interrogate this. So, what I had to work on was kind of building this framework of moving from reflexive living to responsible living. I don't want to just be reflexive anymore. I want to be responsible. Oh, okay. So, which there's a phase that you got to go through for me, and this is a framework, not a universal law or anything like that, but it's reflex to reaction to response to regulation to responsibility. And I'll talk a little bit about why I put regulation after response and not before. So the goal, or at least one of the immediate goals, is to get to the place where you're responding to life and not reacting to it. That's what it was for me, you know. Yes. Oh, that's good. Applying in journalism. That's really good. Um, Journalism. I think my journalism classes had a lot to do with breaking some of those final I don't know, final camels backs, I guess you can say. Um, yeah, just about citing sources and the integrity of sources, and then looking at scripture and being like, "Ooh, that's a little shaky," you know. But response is the first move away from reactivity, right? And living reflexively is always going to have us living in reaction. And that's just one place that I don't live in, and that's not even something I got from my humanism. That's something I get from my black nationalism. Like I think reactionary tendencies is how you kill a movement. And that's not just my personal opinion. I've recommended this book to everybody who claims to want to know something about Black revolutionary leaders, everybody who claims to be doing things in the footsteps of those people. Please read those people's words and not just the propaganda, because a lot of people are operating out of the propaganda and not actually out of the playbook. Damn, I'm talking better. Oh shit, this is good. No, a lot of people are operating out of the propaganda and out the playbook. And it's actually easy to recognize because the propaganda will never produce shit. Like operating reactionarily will never get anything done. The best it will do is get people killed, as it has done over and over and over again. So a book that I often recommend to people to check out on this subject is Revolutionary Suicide by Huey Newton, co-founder of the Black Panthers, and Bobby Seale. Okay. Okay, so there you go. Revolutionary suicide. Gave y'all that one. Y'all got it. All right. So response is the first move away from reactivity. I didn't mean to go. Essentially, yeah, the final straw that broke the camel's back. That's where I was going with that. Um, response is the first move away from reactivity. Regulation is the deeper capacity that stabilizes response over time. And responsibility is what happens when a regulated person begins to carry the weight of consequence, impact, and obligation. I'll tell you a red flag that you might not be well regulated. And here's the thing: when you're not a regulated person, people will take advantage of you. Okay. I hate to pull a scripture. I hate to pull a scripture, but the Bible says an unstable man, double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways, you know. And that's kind of what living life without regulation does. If you're not regulated, it's not just that you'll stay stuck in reactionary. You may shift from reactionary to responding, but you'll never to responding, but you will never get the responsibility because other people control your regulation. And this is something like okay, you will notice this. I give you a good sign of this when every week the person has a different bad guy, or every month the person has a different bad guy. They got a different thing that they're mad at, a different thing that they're upset with, a different cause that is absolutely urgent and everybody has to be around. Someone else is taking advantage of your lack of regulation. Oh, this is Listen, I know I'm not saying the popular stuff. I'm just doing my best to say the productive stuff. I want to say the stuff that's actually going to help people ground themselves and never be taken advantage of again. All right. And if every 2 or 3 weeks you have a new person to be upset with, or you have a new villain of the story, or you have a new freak of the week, or you have a new thing that you need to be chasing down, someone else is taking advantage of your lack of regulation. Now, listen, if you have the privilege to waste that much time, do what you do, player. But if you're somebody out there that's actually struggling financially, you're struggling socially, you're struggling building relationships, you cannot afford for other people to be taking advantage of your regulation, or taking advantage of your lack of regulation. Man, yes. Different bad guy every month. Yes. Without any mental application. This is the highlight of reactionary living. And this is why I encourage people, even though it's about the Black liberation movement, even though it's about Black nationalism, it is a wonderful case study in the difference between being reactionary and being responsible, and how so easy it is for people to use our reactions against us. Uh, Reactionaryism is powerful because it appeals often to the things that we either severely hate or the things we significantly love. You know, it's either telling us something is hurting something that we love, or something is doing something that we hate. And so it's like, hey, you got to do something now. And that's going back. You remember that first rule that I gave myself? I will not give myself permission to know what I have not done the work to know, because that's when people, and many times, to get you into that reactionary mode, that mode where they're taking advantage of your lack of regulation, they put this sense of urgency. You have to agree with this today. You have to see it the way that I see this. Even if you don't have all the facts, you have to believe what I'm presenting. That is never outside of an extreme case, and that's why I call this hypothetical urgency, that is never, never, ever an exercise in logic. It is never an exercise in reason. If someone is convinced based off of their comprehension, then they can give me their comprehension and not their confidence. This is good. No, 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 no. This is good. I don't need you reframing the story. If you think the evidence says what the evidence says, then you just give me the evidence and leave your cliff notes out of it. Oh, okay. Mm-mm. Nope. Other people are taking advantage of our lack of regulation. All right. Okay. I hope this is good talk, y'all. I hope this is good talk. Man, it's exactly like high pressured sales. Yes, it is. Well, no, you got to believe this now. You're going to miss out on this moment where you're not going to be on the right side of history. And it's like, whoa, I just wanted to buy a churro. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know if I signed up for that yet. let's let's get to know each other first. Maybe rub my feet for a little while before we get this intimate. Like, and again, that's the thing. Like, I'm not giving myself permission to know anything that I've not done the work to know, which also gives me that level of epistemic humility and awareness that, like, there might be a reason I haven't done the work to know. And this is something that this society will not always give you permission to say. Maybe I don't care enough. Okay. Well, Durante, what if that's horrible? I'm not adding a judgment value to it yet. What if it's true? What if it's true that I don't care enough yet to have the details? What if it's true that I don't care enough yet to actually know how this works out? Then I am the last person you should be trying to recruit. You gotta recruit the people who care. Like, now, it's just some good coaching advice here. Start with the people who care. Okay. All right, so this kind of gives each stage a distinct role. The first one is reflex. All right, this is where I lived for the majority of my life. Belief in itself is a reflex. It's not a response. You know, it's a reflex. It's a reflex to a moment. It's a reflex to a feeling. It's a reflex to social pressure. It's a reflex. I believe this not because I'm convinced. I believe this because I'm convicted. This is a reflex, but also, like, much of what we do in life, the way we judge people, oftentimes, the ideas we have about people, the triggers we experience, they're reflexes. They're reflexes. Oh man. And the way you know something is a reflex is because it's automatic, it's immediate, but here's the most important part. It is pre-reflective, which meant reflection did not get you here. No, 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 no. When you're dealing with a reflex, when you're dealing with a trigger, always remember reflection did not get me here. Taking it back to the rule number one that I gave myself. And since I can't give myself permission to know something that I actually have not done the work to know, then this reaction, this trigger tells me more about me than it tells me about anything else. Oh my goodness. See, this is what real deconstruction looks like. It's not how to identify what's wrong with religion. It's how to identify what could be working better in me. That's good. That's good. See, deconstruction for me was like, oh, Durante, your bullshit detector is off. And we've got to fix that, because it doesn't just cause you to believe things that are not true about, existentialism. It also impacts the way you do relationships with other people. It also has you trusting people who have all the red flags of not being trustworthy, you know? So, and it also has you at over 580 pounds, because the way you eat, Durante, it is automatic, it is immediate, and it is pre-reflective. You don't even ask yourself the question, should I eat that? That wasn't a question. No, if I can eat it, I'm going to eat it. You know, it wasn't a question of, am I satisfied? It was like, no, there's still room in there. I think we can fit some more in there. you know? And that was just me. All right. So in reflex, the body, the mind, or conditioning moves before deliberation enters. And I'm often amazed at how people don't realize how much of what they think is their personality is actually their reflex. I'm gonna have to drink some water on that. Nah, I'm amazed. This isn't who you are on purpose. This is who you are pre-reflection. Who? And if you don't understand the power of reflection, let me give you a little anthropological anecdote. There is something called, and I hope I don't say it wrong, but if you Google it, you should be able to find it. I think it's like the grandparent effect. And there 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 is there are two different phases in the evolution of human consciousness. One is where we become consciously aware, but then there's the next step where we become philosophically aware. Okay, we become conscious awareness. Damn, this is good. Conscious awareness is a biological, neurological adaptation. It's a consequence, according to what we know now, is a consequence of biological and neurological adaptation. Philosophical awareness is a consequence of more time. Okay. This is why it's called the grandparent effect. Okay. Because we're talking about the difference between humans. And y'all didn't know I was going to do this. I be zigging when you think I'm a zag. Okay. But we're talking about the difference between pre-reflective living and post-reflective living. When our age when our age of mortality, I can't get this stuff out today. When we start living longer, I'm gonna say it that way. When we started living longer, and I'm talking about just 10 years longer, from 20 to 30 years, it introduced the possibility of grandparents. And so now, for the first time in human history, life wasn't just wake up, run from cheetah, chase buffalo, die. Now everybody was living long enough to wake up, run from cheetah, chase buffalo, have children, leave those children with the grandparents so you can go back out and chase cheetah, run from cheetah, and chase buffalo. Okay. But now, because we have the gift of time, there are grandparents who are at home. This is the invention of grandparents who are at home, which now allows for those who are out on the hunt to do more than they were typically able to do because they're no longer burdened by the children or the older people in the tribe. And they've created a new relationship that did not exist prior to this moment between the oldest generation and the youngest generation, which now creates a period of reflection. Okay. So now it is not just run from cheetah, chase buffalo. Now there is time to think about it. Oh, man. And I'm telling you, the difference between the old you and where you're going is time to think about it. What other people are trying to rob you of, what other people are taking advantage of, they're trying to keep you from your time to think about it. What keeps you in your reflexes is not having time to think about who you want to be, is not having time to think about your actions, your responses, and how you show up in the world. The difference between being stuck back there and then building civilization on top of civilization on top of civilization is the ability to have time to reflect on where we've been. Yes, and to tell those stories. to pass them down. All right. So it's that once you remember that when you're living reflexively, you are living pre-reflection. All right. You're living pre-reflection. Um, the next step on the bar is reaction. All right. That normally comes from our reflexes. The reaction. It's the charged, impulsive, emotionally driven behavior. A person is no longer merely reflexive, but they are still being moved more by impulse than intention or understanding. All right. So I had a reflex. This is my reaction, but there still has been no reflection and no interrogation. Like I used to use this little anecdote that, hey, the data is for the decisions, the emotions are for the experience. And it's not that emotions are not data, it's just that your emotions are incomplete data. Your emotions, oh goodness, your emotions will tell you more about you than anything else in the world. All right. So you may experience something and you are sad. Your emotions are telling you that you're sad. But if you've never learned how to sit with that language, that my emotions are telling me about me, they're not telling me about anybody else involved. They don't have that insight. My emotions don't have insight into somebody else. My emotions are telling me how I feel about this moment. But if you don't have that insight, you will move to the state. Watch, and we say it sometimes. We just say it with a slip of the tongue. They made me sad. Okay. Now we just say it slip of the tongue. Obviously, we don't mean they forced me to be sad, but the problem is some people do mean that no, they are responsible. They are the reason that I am sad. And it's like, oh, no, 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 no. Your reflex and your reaction are absolutely valid, but they give you insight into you. Remember, what's that rule? I can't give myself permission to know something that I haven't done the work to know. And that's what the reflection allows you to do, is to actually do the work. Hey, were you trying to upset me with that? That's a fair question to ask, but only in a world where we're willing to be fair. Oh my goodness, this is good. Yes. So we have to stay aware of what's real and what's illusion. Yes. Oh man. I mean, it took me such a long time to grasp, but then I also grew up in the charismatic circles where I thought my dreams were telling me things about other people. I thought, man, my dreams was on point too. And it just turns out like I really am a very intuitive person in a sense. I think we all are, but I don't mean any spiritual, spooky way. It just means I pay attention and I pick up on a lot of subtle social cues, which made me incredibly effective as a prophet. Maybe incredibly effective as that because I pick up on these subtle social cues, but at the end of the day, it's telling me more about me than those other people. I can only know if my intuition is right about somebody else by confirming that information through further interaction with them. And then by doing so, I can act accordingly. Oh, Fox News. Oh my goodness. Just make me sad already. Just make me sad. I think me and the kids were just watching something. Oh, Secession. That pretty much is like Fox News. Their last episode. Yikes. But all right, so reaction is you're no longer just reflexive, but you're still being moved more by the impulse than the intention. And one of the things that I try to give people to remember is that it's possible. Like if you can prioritize this phrase over this phrase, I think it'll make a difference. Okay, what the bad interactions prioritize, this was a bad interaction over this is a bad person. I think if we can start there, and it's just talking about human to human relationships, I think that'll make a huge difference. I'll never forget. This is just one of those stories where I finally realized, like, oh dang, people really are childish in a way that's really painful for them. And so I'm not even just calling people childish to mock people. I'm saying that there is a little child in a lot of people that still handles their reasoning for them, and it's like a pain response. So years ago, I was pastoring this little Baptist church, and we were doing a little music rehearsal, and one of the singers had convinced herself that one of the musicians was laughing at her. Now, the thing is, I knew the musicians very well. Um, and he actually had some social challenges of his own, and laughing wasn't one of them, you know? So he would, you know, so it turns out like he was not laughing at her at all. Everybody else could see clearly the dude didn't even crack a smile, but she was working on this sing part in this song, and she didn't hit the note the way that she wanted to hit the note, and she was very insecure about her voice, so she felt that other people must feel about her voice the way that she does, so she had to find somebody to help embody those feelings. Remember, I told you, people are taking advantage of your lack of regulation, because that's what it was for her. This is a lack of regulation. I'm experiencing something emotionally intense right now, and I don't have an outlet to attach it to. So I got to find a villain instead of realizing that this moment, this insecurity, this sadness, nobody did this to me. I walked in here with this. I've been living with this. What did Beyonce say? I woke up like this. No, this is something that I've been carrying, and it's not fair. Oh, it's not fair for me to take something that I've been carrying and make other people responsible for. That's the hard part about moving out of that reaction phase, because the reaction phase feels so good is because it's ultimately a soft level of blaming. Regardless of what it is, it allows you to shift the responsibility. It allows you to shift the burden of regulation to the offending party, which is stupid, mind you. This is stupid. This is why the book I recommended was Revolutionary Suicide. It's a wonderful book. Shifting the burden of regulation to the oppressive party is the stupidest thing you can come up with. Okay? You're basically saying, I feel like this person hates me, and so now they have to fix me. Whoa, not a good strategy. Don't do that. Take it from somebody who's part of a community that's been doing that shit. Don't do that. Don't. No. All right. So it's shifting the burden of regulation. And so one of the ways you know that you're dealing with someone who's highly reactive is there is never who there is never ever dang, there's never a reason they should have rethought. There's never a reason they should have done something differently. The other people are always the reason. Well, this person did this to me, and this person did this to me, and this person did this to me. And you get stuck. The saddest part about that is you get stuck in a victim chair. And so now everywhere you go, you're in the victim seat, and you're fighting to maintain it. And that seat doesn't give you any power. But it's because you haven't been allowed to move to that next level of, let me reflect on who I want to be and how I show up in the world. Okay. So now this gets us to response. So we've talked about reflex, reaction. What does response look like? This is the first meaningful interruption of reactivity. I'm going to tell you something right now. We are never going to be able to build healthy communities if everybody is reacting to each other. Mm-mm. I'm gonna be honest. I'll take another step. We're never gonna be able to build healthy communities if everybody is just responding to each other. We have to start drawing the line of what is old and what is not old. The community doesn't get healthy until we're responsible for each other. All right. All right, so response is the first meaningful interruption of reactivity. A person begins to choose rather than merely discharge emotion or conditioning. Now, this makes you dangerous. And I'm not just saying this to fluff up your ego. I am literally saying this makes you dangerous. And all you have to do, you've probably experienced moments like this ever since middle school, where you have two opposing sides and both sides are like, "Hey, you need to believe what I say," or the other side is like, "No, you need to believe what I say." And you decide, "You know what? I'm going to choose based off of what I see." That is a dangerous at that moment, you become dangerous. But that's ultimately where we need to get to, where a person is able to choose rather than merely discharge emotion. I'm not going to behave just because I'm upset. That's called a crime of passion. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, nah. I'm not going to lash out just because I'm upset. No, a person begins to choose rather than merely discharge emotion or conditioning. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you don't have the right to ever choose anger. No, there are times that anger is worth choosing. There are times that being assertive is what is worth choosing. There are times that being aggressive is worth choosing. But the difference between a reaction and a response is that a response, I chose it. And in a reaction, the moment chose me, you know? That's so good. I've definitely put myself through worse than any other human could put me through. Man, that's so true. Pay attention to your intentions. Yes. The first meaningful interruption of reactivity is response. But like I don't even push people just to respond well, right? And just let me be clear. When I say respond well, I am not talking about being Mr. Rogers to everybody. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm not talking about being Reading Rainbow or Sesame Street to everybody. That is not what I'm talking about. You know, when I say moving from reactionary to response, when I say choosing your responses, that could also mean choosing your boundaries. Mhm. It does, man. It does. Like, listen, I got a lot of people mad at me because they don't like the word no. Well, no, but we all supposed to feel this way. I don't know you like that, and I don't do parasocial relationships. I don't feel one way just because other content creators feel some way. I don't know them. One of my favorite phrases to remind people of, and it's because I live in reality, is like, I don't know you. You a stranger. Behave accordingly. You know? Because now, like we've created these spaces, and this takes me back to the beginning, where other people are taking advantage of your lack of regulation. Listen, I think some content out here is really just brain rot and hate junk. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, is this the table that I want to stay sitting at? Is this making me better, or is this making me more spiteful? Mm, is this making me better, or is this making me bitter? Is this making me more useful, or is it making me more hateful? Come on, y'all got to talk to me today. What is this actually doing for me? Is it giving me a clear picture of the world that I live in? Or is it taking advantage of my lack of regulation? Because regulation is the cultivated ability to govern emotion, impulse, tone, pace, and behavior with consistency, not just a moment, but a more stable self. So, responding is something we can do. Yes, we can respond. But I think after we learn how to respond, we also got to learn how to remain regulated. Now, this is just me. This is where I live. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay regulated. I want to govern my emotion. I'm sorry. I have to stay in my driver's seat. Remember, I said I don't ever want to be a passive passenger in somebody else's story. I'm gonna stay right here in my driver's seat. That's what regulation is. That's what regulation is. You're not gonna get me out of my driver's seat, you know? That's what regulation is. I'm driving my car. I have the ability to slow this car down. I have the ability to speed it up. I have the ability to stop it when I need to stop it. This is me governing my emotion, my impulse, my tone, my pace, and my behavior with not only consistency but autonomy. Nobody else. Oh, I hope y'all can help this. I hope y'all can handle this. Nobody else gets a say in how I choose to show up in life. Nobody. I think that's the hardest thing about being a community founder. Like, that's the hardest thing, especially when you create a space that is as all embracing as Bridge City. Bridge City is 100% all embracing. I'm not trying to change anybody, but I'm constantly getting people trying to change me. But because I'm regulated, which means I'm me on purpose. I am me on purpose. I want other people to have the same freedom to be you on purpose, but you don't get to rob me of it for you to have it. Oh, I hope y'all can handle this. This is, oh my goodness. Okay. So regulation is about having a more stable self. Now, this is one of the things that I worked on after deconverting is really figuring out who am I and how I choose to show up in the world. You know, so everything you see from me is me. That's why it doesn't look like you, because I didn't check with you before I chose to be me. No, that's that. Mm. And then the ultimate goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to get to responsibility. And that's the willingness to own impact, to own consequence, and obligation beyond the self. This is where maturity becomes social, ethical, and constructive. Okay. So regulation stabilizes response as response stabilizes reaction. Regulation stabilizes response as response stabilizes reaction. Okay. So response interrupts reaction. Like, if you know you've been living in a reactionary place in your life, response interrupts that reaction. And then but regulation stabilizes response. So instead of me just being able to respond right one time, or instead of me just being able to respond healthily one time, regulation is what allows me to consistently respond in a way that is in alignment with what I want out of life. It may not be in alignment with what other people want from me, but what they want doesn't compare to what I want for myself. That's autonomy, you know? Responsibility directs regulation towards consequence. Response is the first break from reaction, but regulation gives response consistency. Responsibility gives regulation purpose. That there's purpose. Um, when people wanted me to jump on the bandwagon against another creator, I was very adamant that that's not what I do. Very adamant. Like I don't do that, especially over what it was. Now, and I called out the problems. I called out the problems. It was like a collection of people who said, "Well, if he has people on his programs that we think are a certain thing, mind you, while a sociologist is in the room, and we're not even going to ask what the sociologist thinks." Wow. But if he doesn't agree with us and play ball the way we play ball, then we are going to call people to keep people from being on this channel. And that was really happening in the secular community. And I'm looking like, wait a minute. It's one thing for you not to like somebody, it's one thing for you not to agree with what someone is doing, but you go as far to take economic ownership of their platform. That was a huge red flag for me. And if to realize that this is normal behavior in this community, I was like, "Oh, this all makes so much sense right now." There are quite a few people who are taking advantage of your lack of regulation. They are weaponizing your lack of regulation to pick you up and point you to somebody, because the goal has never been to make you more responsible. The goal has always been just to make you more responsive, you know? And that's something I'm not interested in. Come on, that high school drama, you know? Oh. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's You have to find a way to regulate and get to the point of responsibility. I don't allow anybody to push my level of responsibility beyond where it actually is. That's how you become toxic. And I don't allow anybody to help to override my sense of responsibility. And I have a sense of like, my responsibility here is to be present, to be available, to be accountable, and to build something that actually makes a fucking difference, that actually makes a dent in what we're dealing with, you know? And the way we do that is learning how to do the hard work of being more responsible for each other. And that's hard, because right now it's so easy to be triggered. Right now, and I mean, you have a right to be triggered, yes. But right now, it's so easy to be triggered. It's so easy for someone to take advantage of our lack of regulation. It's so easy for people to paint a story and throw it out there. And please understand, that's how we lose our humanity. We don't lose our humanity because of religion. We lose our humanity because of the things we did with religion. We lose our humanity because of the things that we allowed religion to convince us of. That's how we lose our humanity. When we allow ourselves to believe things, to attach ourselves to things that are not true. There are a lot of things that I've been exposed to over the past few weeks, and I'll be honest with you, it's taken a toll on me. There's not much I can say because, like, I've taken a different taken a different approach. But I can say we have got to do better. An incident happened at an event, okay? at an event. Most people can't speak to what happened during the incident. I can say for sure I was one of the last people to see both parties involved, and I spoke with both parties involved the day after and once I returned home. And though people are claiming that they did a full investigation, I was never reached out to. This is why I've taken a different route. This is why I've taken a different route. But not only that, when these people thought that they just saw me put a comment somewhere, I received at least 3 different emails, all claiming to be in support of the victim, slandering the victim. And I'm like, whoa, to not believe the victim is one thing. That is your right. That is your right. That's a good practice. I'm not going to believe something just because I heard it. Great. But to be actively slandering the victim while actively promoting the accused is an active betrayal of justice. I love the work that I do. I love the work that Bridge City is doing, but the space that has become YouTube atheist commentary is not a space that I would trust with my wife. It's not a space that I would trust with my daughters. Hell, at this moment, I wouldn't trust my sons in this space because people are taking advantage of our lack of regulation. When people boldly email a woman's private text messages trying to slander her name in a community that is supposed to be humanist, there is no pretending what this is and what this isn't anymore. The question I asked when I joined this community, or when I came into this space, because I dare not call it a community, when I came into this space is, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? This space has been added, some organizations 15, some 20, some as long as 50 years. And members of this community are still having to do GoFundMe's to cover basic things. And then I realized there is an engine that's taken in volunteers. There's an engine that's taken money. There's an engine that's capturing attention, and it's never flowing back out towards the people. Now, if we can see it happening in the church and call it out when it's happening in the church, it's not a flex if it can be happening in your new program and you don't see it. There's a problem. There's a problem. And anybody who's spoken up against it has been systematically blackballed. And nobody seems to care. Nobody really seems to care. So I can't say what happened at the event, even though I had a better seat at those situations than most people claiming to spread information. But what I can say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that it is absolutely disgusting for people to be sharing the private text messages of a woman who made an accusation. That is disgusting. And your favorite content creators are all in on it. I don't know how much longer I'll stay in this space because I can't stomach this type of hypocrisy. If we're going to do better, we actually have to be better, which means we have to care more than just about the numbers. We have to care more than just about the spectacle. We have to care more than just about being able to defeat Christian nationalism. Who cares if you defeat Christian nationalism if you're going to repeat the same patterns? It just becomes a whole game of my turnism. And so what we have to get better at, like, I get it. I can't talk about the popular stuff anymore. Fuck the popular stuff. It's time to talk about the productive stuff. What's going to help us be better? What's going to help us catch these flaws? This is why I talk about stuff like this. We've got to move from reflex to responsibility. What are we responsible for? How are we responsible for each other? How are we responsible for moving in this world? How can we help each other? We can't all fight the same way. We won't all fight the same way. But we all can be doing something in our part. But in order to get there, we have to stop letting people take advantage of our lack of regulation. We have to move from being reflexive, from being reactionary, to learning how to respond, to learning how to regulate our response, and then learning how this impacts our responsibility. You know, I did not mean to take us down this world. Yeah. I did not mean to take us down here, but that's the whole point of all the content that I do. And I get it. People say, well, he sounds like a preacher, or he sounds like a pastor. Okay. Is that the worst you got? Oh, well, he's a misogynist. Okay. Wife and two daughters. The leadership of Bridge City is primarily women, but okay. That's best you got? Mm-mm. I share the content that I share, not because I want to keep people stuck in being mad, but I want to help people start developing the tools to help create the world that we want to share. Because we have to get there. We have to get there. And the only way we get there is through the work. That's it. At the end of the day, I'm a man with a hammer. I'm John Henry, and I'm going to be hitting on this thing until the day that I die. And with the way that the world seems to be going and the way that my blood pressure seems to be going, that day may be a lot sooner than I expected. But either way, this is my hill and I'm willing to die on it. I think what we need is real community. Real community. I think what we need is real support. I think we all need to confront the consumer in us that makes us bystanders, that makes us people who are always sitting on the corner with a complaint instead of recognizing it as our cue to do something different. And so you have the ability, you have the capacity to do something of import in this world. And I encourage you to find out what that is. That's what moving to responsibility is about. It's about finding something that you can do, regardless of how small it may seem to others, or regardless of if it feels too big for you. Find some hill that you are willing to die on. Community is my hill. Every time I hear of something happening, every time I see something happening, it's a reminder to me that this is why we need community. This is why we need community. Jude, that is so on point. We all need to get better at being adults interacting with each other instead of automatically trying to mobilize some authority, individual or majority, into intervening in all of our problems. That is so good. That is so good. You know? All right, y'all. So that's all I got for today. I think. Let me make sure. No, is it? All right. So reflex, reaction, response, regulation, and then responsibility. Reflex is what happens before thought. Reaction is what happens when emotion takes the wheel. Response is the first sign of choice. Regulation is the development of that inner governance, and responsibility is the decision to carry your power with accountability, you know, to carry your power with accountability. Hmm. The responsibility is the recognition that how you manage yourself affects the world around you. And therefore, you are accountable for more than just your internal state. Reflex is automatic, reaction is impulsive, response is intentional, regulation is disciplined, responsibility is accountable. That's the level we have to get to. I think as a space, we've definitely been stuck in reactionary. And I think that's how people get to use us against each other. And again, please read Revolutionary Suicide because that's what the sad thing is. There were a lot of people who genuinely cared about the status of Black African Americans in the United States. There were a lot of people who genuinely cared about the liberation of African Americans. There are a lot of people who genuinely cared about the self government, self sufficiency of African Americans in the U.S. But because they could not move beyond reactionary, they all ended up getting used against each other. Like that's the part of the movement that nobody talks about, is that if people can keep you trapped into reaction, that you will stay stuck their weapon. I like that. I like that. Oh man. Thank you, pragmatic humanist. You're doing well. I hope you stay on YouTube, but not at the cost of self. Integrity is everything in a world of performance. Thank you so much. And I do appreciate that. I sincerely appreciate that. But integrity is it definitely is the thing for me. If you know my story about why I stopped pastoring, because I could have stayed pastoring, but I decided to leave pastoring because I didn't want to pretend to help. I wanted to actually help. And that is the same reason that I've separated myself from the atheist space over the past almost 2 years now, that I've started separating myself because I am not here to pretend to help. I am here to actually help. And the thing is, we have to start in the places that matter, you know. And if we can't even respond right to allegation, and again, I'm not saying that anybody had to automatically believe the victim. In a community that claims that it supports believe the victim, I'm thinking that probably shouldn't have been a bad idea. But I'm not necessarily saying that that had to be the thing. What honestly broke my heart is the amount of people who were involved in an actual slander campaign. The amount of people who were actually involved in a slander campaign against a woman who made an accusation. That was it. If you don't believe her, don't believe her. If you don't believe her, stop threatening to do the false reports. Do the false report. But to find anybody who even shows any sign of like, oh no, I think I'll support this person, to email them like 15-page packets of screenshots and then to see all of the names that are involved. This is not a safe place. It's not a safe place. But it's never been safe This place eats its own. And there's always a group of you willing to clap and laugh as it's happening. I've been very clear since I've joined. I don't find any reason for dehumanization to be acceptable. I don't go out and police other people about it, you know, but it's just something I can't participate in. I don't participate in dehumanization of others. But what I did notice is with this community, all you have to do is label somebody something you don't like, and then that means it's open season on dehumanizing them. That's all it takes. That's not a healthy community. That's not a community at all. That's the gulag. You know, welcome to the gulag. I'm out. All right. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging with me today. I am going to go ahead and end this because I've been going for almost 2 hours and your boy has a lot of work to do. But I appreciate you all for being here today. I hope you've learned something from this conversation. I mean to jump into everything that I jumped into, but that's the beauty of live. You gonna get what you gonna get. But again, thank you all for hanging out with me today. I love you all. Stay safe, stay sane, keep yourself regulated, move out of reflexes and reaction and get into some responsive living. Because hey, we got some work to do, and we really do need you to be at your best self in order for us to do the work. And that's actually where I want to close at. That's where I want to close at. There's always a war. There's always a battle where we're going to need soldiers on the front line. But there has to be a concern for the health of the soldiers. And right now, I'm saying we have a world of people who are so unhealthy that they can't help with much of anything. And so a major part of our goal has to be able to create spaces that are not just soft spaces for people to land, but are actual safe places for people to live so they can find themselves again and get their sense of help, get their sense of health, and get their sense of hope back. Because then we have something to work with. People can't do their best work until they feel like their best selves. And that's what Bridge City does. Do y'all notice what our mission is? It's to help people connect better, build better, and live better. If you want to live better, you've got to be able to build something better to live in. And if you want to build better, you've got to be able to connect better with the people who are going to help you build it. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. And you also have to be willing to pay attention who's been around for so long and still ain't built shit yet. All right, that's all I got for y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here. And until next time, keep rising.
So happy to be here, finally living with no fear. I'm living my best year, so glad I didn't give up in last year. I'm happy that you're here too, so happy to be with you. Glad that you made it through, I saw that you made it through. I'm happy to be here, I'm finally living with no fear. I'm living my best year, so glad I didn't give up in last year. I'm happy that you're here too, so happy to be with you. So glad that you made it through, I saw that you made it through. I don't know if you hear it or not, but I want you to know that this song is about you. I'm saying you're more than enough. If you looked at yourself, you would be fucking proud of you. Get that weight off your chest, let it go, let it flow. Let it roll off your shoulders. Don't be scared to be loud, to be proud, to be bold, to be more than they told ya. It's like jumping out of airplanes and swimming with the sharks. That existential feeling when you're staring at the stars. There's a hurricane in my head, but the lightning in my heart makes it worth you check out this life is, yeah, it feels like the very first time I can build with you forever, I am certain, yeah. Cause I still get nervous when we all get the point in the fireworks, blasting and sparks through the air like the 4th of July. I can build with you forever, I am certain, yeah. Cause I still get nervous. So happy to be here, I'm finally living with no fear. I'm living my best year, so glad I didn't give up in last year. I'm happy that you're here too, so happy to be with you. Glad that you made it through, I saw that you made it through. I don't know if you hear it enough, but I want you to know that this song is about you. I'm saying you're more than enough. If you looked at yourself, you would be fucking proud of you. Get that weight off your chest, let it go, let it flow, let it roll off your shoulders. Don't be scared to be loud, to be proud, to be bold, to be more than they told you. It's like flying in the fast lane, no headlights in the dark. That existential feeling makes you wonder who you are. There's a wild wind in my head, but the butterflies in my heart makes it worth it. Cause I still get nervous when you drop in the stream and you check out this life. And yeah, it feels like the very first time I can be with you forever, I am certain, yeah. Cause I still get nervous when we all get the point and the fireworks flashing and sparks through the air like the 4th of July. I can build with you forever, I am certain, yeah. Cause I still get nervous. Hey! Cause I still get nervous. 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 And we all get the point in the fireworks flashing and sparks through the air like the 4th of July. Cause I still get nervous when you drop in the stream and you check out this life and it feels, yeah, it feels like the very first time.